Welcome back to my channel. In the last episode, I chose the color and sprayed it onto the supermodel. In this episode, we're gonna add some bling, baby.
Perfect.
Now, on some of my projects, I like to make the model pop with some metal flake. This is purely optional if you're into extra color or like the paint to pop. Besides a factory color, so stay tuned for the rest of the video. I'm gonna show you how to use House of Colors Intercoat Clear. What this product does, it helps with the metal flake transfer onto your subject with your airbrush, and I am reducing it with their RU311 Medium reducer. This is a 1-to-1 mix ratio, so it's 1 part Intercoat Clear and 1 part Medium reducer. Remember, you don't have to use this clear to paint your subjects and give it its final clear. It's not for that. It will only transfer the flake, then it will semi-clear. So basically, it's just gonna go like a flat. So it's not really a high-end gloss. So what you'll need to do is you'll need to add an extra high gloss at the end of your model once you're all done with adding all your necessary flake to finish it nicely, basically. So I'm going to be using about, let's say, 5 milliliters, which is equivalent to a teaspoon. And I'm going to do the same for the medium reducer. So it's a 1-to-1. So right about right there is going to be good. And just make sure to wear gloves because this stuff can get kind of messy on your hands and it can get really sticky, and it's kind of hard and annoying to get off. So and just get another mixing cup to add your medium reducer. And add about the same thing, about the same length, so another teaspoon of medium reducer. For the flake, I'm using Roth flakes. Roth has been in the business for a very long time, and I really like their products, their paints and flakes. Now, the only size flake that you can use especially for my type of airbrush, which is a 0.5, is a 0.004. So you don't want to go anything bigger than a 0.004. Anything bigger than that is way out of scale, so it's not even going to look good. There's many different sizes of flakes, so a 0.4 flakes, it's just right with a 124 scale subject. So it's not too big and it's not too small, it's just right in the middle, and you can still see the flake. So say you go outside and you point it out to the sun, you'll be able to see the 0.4 flake, and it's not too big, so it's gonna look actually really, really nice. Now, you don't want to add too much. That's basically solely on how much flake you really want. Now, you don't want to overdo it with flake because it will get stuck in your airbrush. But if you do really want large amounts of flake, I would say do it in batches or in different sections. So if you want a lot of flake, do like 3 different steps. But if you want a minimal amount, just to make your paint pop a little, maybe just one setting would be okay. So in this case, I'm gonna be doing around maybe just a couple of dashes of the flake, and I'm not gonna add too much, but I don't want to overdo it with the flake. So just enough to make the paint pop, and you can actually still see the color, but also see the flake at the same time. And just give it a good mix. Make sure it's mixed very thoroughly, and it's not clunking or getting chunks in your intercoat clear. Because if you do, either it's way too much flake, or maybe you don't have the mix right with the reducer, so it's not going to flow through your airbrush. and just keep mixing it thoroughly, and make sure you have a good even consistency. And then once you get the right flowing, a good liquid flowing through the flake and the reducer and the intercoat clear, everything is just mixed very well correctly, then you can go ahead and pour it into your airbrush. That's about the right consistency that you're gonna want. So, and like I've said before, you don't want anything too thick or too watery, just the right amount. And I just added a little bit more just to break it up a little bit, and it seemed to me like I actually added a little bit more flake than I wanted to, but it's okay. I'm not gonna take it off anyways. I'm just gonna leave it in there, and I'm pretty sure it's still gonna look good in the end. Just a few more mixes and just making sure the consistency is correct, and it's a watery like substance. And all I'm doing is just making sure that it definitely does not get stuck in my airbrush. And the main reason is that while you're spraying the flake onto your subject, you don't want to stop midway because your airbrush is stuck now with the flake. So if in case that happens, just go ahead and stop in between, clean out your airbrush, add lacquer thinner in it to remove anything that's stuck in between the chamber and your nozzle, and then redo it all over again. And hopefully you can pick up where you left off, and you are able to actually blend it in correctly. Okay, I did a lot of mixing here, so please bear with me, guys. I went ahead and just poured it all into the cup. I'm using my second cup, which is the bigger cup, and then it holds it just right. It's just perfect in there. And then just top it off. You don't have to top it off all the way. Just leave a little room. That way there's no back pressure in your airbrush. And just test it out again. Like give it a few squeezes and make sure that it's actually flowing correctly. And that's what I do here. So I went ahead and added the flake. The flake is really small, so it's really hard to see on camera. But if maybe on a future video, I'll go ahead and put it directly into the sun once the clear is already on. So you can't really see much. I could only see very little when the flake is actually on. But the gloss, the high 2K gloss, is what makes it pop. So I went ahead and started adding my 2K gloss. And this is going to be my first coat. And your first coat, you want to be not too thin, but also not too thick yet. At the beginning, you want to take it slow and just add a few coats in there, and make sure you get good coverage on all sides of your subject. And for me here, it's already looking pretty wet to me, so that means it's going on correctly. And the mixture is also mixed correctly. So now my 2K gloss is a 4:1 ratio. Okay, just keep in mind there's a lot of high-end polyurethane gloss that require different mixtures, so just make sure that you look at the instructions on how to mix your clear. So there's also 2K clears that are 2-to-1. So mine's actually a 4-to-1. So that means 4 parts of the gloss and 1 part of the activator. And I'm just getting really good clear coats on here right now. I'm making sure I'm getting even coats in between. So making sure I'm getting coverage all over the place. Now, at the beginning, you might get some specks, some bumps in your gloss. And don't worry, don't freak out, and don't feel like you just ruined your paint job. Towards the end, or on my next episode, we're gonna talk about how to fix that and remove the bumps by wet sanding it. So that's my first coat right there. I'm letting it dry. So your in between coats, you depending on the type of paint you have, the manufacturer for mine recommends that you wait about 15 to 20 minutes. So I did that and I cut out a few of these clips out. So I came back when my 20-minute mark was up, and then I continued to do and add my second layer of clear coat. Now, while you're waiting at the same time, what I like to do is when using 2K clear, it's a very, very sticky clear. So what I've noticed is that my airbrush gets stuck in between. So the very top, the very tip of the nozzle cap, it will clog up with the 2K clear. So since I like to spray very heavily, a lot of that clear gets stuck at the tip. So what I do is I just get a rag, any rag that you have laying around, dip it in lacquer thinner, and then press it at the very top and try to remove any excess 2K clear that you have stuck there. And what I also like to do is I like to get a little squeezable bottle with lacquer thinner and then just pour it at the very tip. And I'll just leave it hanging there while I'm waiting for my 15 to 20 minute clear coats. And while I'm also waiting, I remember I also have my other projects that I painted the same color of the body. So I'm gonna take this opportunity to go ahead and add the clear to those parts. Now I don't want to add too much, just because if I do, it's going to be really hard to attach those to the chassis, since it's going to be covered in real thick layers of clear coat. So just be very generous in moderation. That went on pretty good, and now I'm gonna get my side mirrors and add those, add the clear coat on that as well. That's looking pretty good to me. When all of this is done, it's gonna look so good, guys. I'm really excited to show you the end result. Thank you so much for sticking around, and I hope you guys like the video. So right now I'm gonna add my last layer of high gloss clear on my subject. As you can tell, it's already looking pretty glass, high quality clear on right now. So it's looking pretty heavy in clear coat. So now what I'm gonna do is that I actually like to add another extra layer of clear coat, because I'm gonna actually remove it and smooth it out when I do my wet sanding. So stick around for the next video, and I'll show you guys how to remove the extra layer of clear coat and also fix any imperfections that you got in the clear coat. Now I'm probably shooting at about 35 to 40 pounds of pressure on my airbrush. Okay, that's overkill. That's probably a little advanced and high flow. So I probably wouldn't recommend it for beginners, but if you're a pro and you've been airbrushing for a very long time, you could probably bump it up a little bit and know pretty much the pressure that you're working with. Usually just look at the manufacturer's directions on how many pounds of pressure that they recommend you using. This one's anywhere between 20 to 30 pounds. So, but the thing is, I like to kick it up a notch just so I can get that extra flow, and it goes on very evenly. For me, it's actually worked out pretty well. So just be very mindful of how you're spraying it on, and make sure you don't get any watery or runs in while you're doing it and adding paint. That looks pretty heavy and clear cut. So not to worry, I can already see there's a little bit imperfections in the hood and maybe a little bit on the roof. So it's gonna pop up. Just take a moment to take a look all around and take a look at how far you've gone and what your progress is. So I'm just checking it out here just to make sure that I got pretty much all my areas covered. But like I said, I've noticed some imperfections show up towards the end. So I'm gonna go and correct that on the next video. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share, and hit the notification bell for my next uploads. We'll see you in the next video.